What's up, everyone? Well, as all of you have already seen, the draft is in day two right now, Friday night. The Eagles have made two selections so far. Of course, the draft in my hometown of Philly. I'll be spending a bit of time there tomorrow, looking around and seeing things. So, looking forward to that. And the first two picks for the Eagles, and you know what? I know there was a lot of kind of mixed reaction. I think for the pick last night when the Eagles selected 14 overall and took Tennessee defensive end Derek Barnett, and part of the reason was because there were other players who were there, some players who we didn't think would be there. Foster, linebacker from Alabama, but at the same time, even an O.J. Howard, a tight end from Alabama, but at the same time, the Eagles went with a need. Yes, they needed help at linebacker, that's for sure. But at the same time, this league is all about, and I've said this many times, to win in football, you got to be strong on the offensive and defensive lines. It's a must. It's an absolute must. And was it a sexy name? Was it a sexy position that got drafted at number 14? No. But it was a position of need. And I know that Brandon Graham, has kind of came into his own last season. Finally, I think there's a defense that really suits him. And he really flourished in it last season, as we saw. He really, showed why, and yes, they should have drafted Earl Thomas back then, but he showed why he was, he has a potential, to be a really, disruptive, I should say, pass rusher, defensive end. I think, he had a really good year. He had a solid year a year ago. But on the other end, it was just very inconsistent. I mean, we really didn't get a lot from Vinny Curry. Connor Barwin. Look, I mean, he was older. He was a leader, but he just didn't have that jump, that push, that you need, at defensive end. And they needed help on the other side. They did. Unless Vinny Curry, was able to explode this season and have a tremendous year. And of course, they bring in Long, who was with the Patriots last year. But he's really one of the. He kind of fills that role left by Connor Barr when he comes in to be a veteran leader. A guy that knows how to, what it takes to win, because he just did a season ago with the Patriots. But he was really more of a role player on that team, and he's going to be more of a role player on this team too. So the Eagles needed some help on the other defensive end spot. So they saw an opportunity to take a player who probably should have been a top 10 pick. Maybe even in some circles you could say was a top 8 pick. I mean, this guy set the new record at Tennessee in a career for sacks. I believe he had 33. That beats out another player who did pretty good here for a number of years, number 92. When he was a rookie, he was number 91. But of course, the great Reggie White, rest in peace to him. You know what? To break any of Reggie's records, I mean, you're doing something right. And you can say it was a safe pick, and that probably is the case. I mean, it was a safe pick there because obviously Barnett didn't have a whole lot of baggage going into this draft, as you saw some of the other players. So the Eagles kind of, the fact that they also didn't have a lot of those offensive players that probably they were high on. And I said, months ago, or a month ago maybe, that my guy was Christian McCaffrey, running back at Stanford, of course, Ed McCaffrey's son. As the draft got closer and it was pretty certain that he wasn't going to be there at number 14, and honestly, I mean, let's be honest about this. I mean, to move up how many spots, and give up, your second round pick, perhaps your first round pick, all these different picks or future picks to move up to get Christian McCaffrey, I think would have been a bit of a mistake because this team has a lot. This team has a lot of needs, and you can't just do it all on free agency. You have to be able to draft well. And one of the moves that they made this offseason is bringing in Joe Douglas. And Joe Douglas was with the Baltimore Ravens, of course. He knows what it takes to put a defense together. It's one of the things that Baltimore has been known for how many years, right? And how important that side of the ball is. And I'm sure that the Eagles would have loved to have gotten Christian McCaffrey or Mike Williams or another one of these offensive weapons, to give another weapon to Carson Wentz. But let's not ignore the other side of the ball, a very important side of the ball. And one of the most important things to have on that side of the ball is a dominant defensive line. Now, the Eagles did have a really good year from Brandon Graham a season ago. Fletcher Cox was kind of hot and cold, but if you get two dominant pass rushers on either side of that line, that opens things up for everybody. I mean, Fletcher Cox is already going to be double teamed most of the time. So what's that do? That opens things up for the ends to come in there and wreak havoc. And that's something that this team, we haven't had this, in a long time. And I know we've had some defensive ends who really gave us some really good individual seasons and maybe good careers. I mean, Trent Cole certainly comes to mind. Connor Barwin for a while there. Of course, he played linebacker too, but, defensive end, he was doing pretty good there for a few seasons. What we got out of Brandon Graham last season. I mean, obviously, you can go back to the Andy days. I mean, Hugh Douglas was a great defensive end here for many years. But they really never had those bookends, right? Those two guys that are going to get you from both sides. Right now, I guess, when they had, I mean, if I got to be honest about it, I don't know if the Eagles truly had that. They had some guys that gave it in spurts on one side. It was really one guy, and the other side, it was, maybe here and there, but it never was really together. I think the last time, and if I'm mistaken, I apologize, but I think the last time the Eagles really had that on a consistent basis is when they had Reggie White and Clyde Simmons. And that was a long time ago. That was back when Buddy Ryan was the coach. And that's the last time the Eagles had a dominant defensive line as far as the defensive end position on both sides. Reggie and Simmons. And, again, they haven't had that in so long. And I know maybe Eagle fans kind of forget about that. It has been that long. I mean, I was just getting started, being an Eagles fan at that time, back in 1993. So maybe we forgot what that is. But I'll tell you something. I've seen a lot of teams win. And the one common denominator that they have, and when you really want to boil it all down, and I know we got Carson Wentz, and we all want these offensive players, we all want these offensive weapons, right? We're all excited that they brought in Alshon Jeffrey this offseason. Of course, Torrey Smith, too, won a ring in Baltimore, with Joe Douglas there years ago. But you gotta build a defense. And you look at this division that the Eagles are in, the NFC East. You look at the players in this division. You look at the wide receiver position in this division. It's just crazy. And of course, you have some really good, quarterback play too. Of course, Dak Prescott, what he did a season ago. Now I know the Eagles pretty much own Eli, but he's still a very good quarterback, and he has a lot of different receivers to throw the ball to. And of course, the Redskins that just give us fits all the time with Kirk Cousins, who only seems to play well against the Eagles. I don't know, but so the bottom line is you have to have a pass rush. You have to have a pass rush to have any success in this league. You look at the teams that win, even the Patriots. The Patriots, I know, are known for Belichick and Brady. I get that. It's, oh yeah, Tom, look, he's the GOAT. Okay, 5 Super Bowl championships. Very hard to top that, okay? But they have always had a good defense. And it starts up front in the trenches. And these teams that win on a consistent basis, I'm talking about the Patriots of the world, the Steelers, the Packers might not have a great defense, but you look at when they won the Super Bowl those years ago, that was a pretty damn good defense. And they have been consistently good. Yes, they have discount double check. Yes, they do. I mean, that certainly helps. But they have been consistently good. The Seattle Seahawks, of course, consistently good for a number of years. And that defense is a huge part of it. And why is the secondary there so good? Because they're so good at rushing the passer. And yes, they have really good linebacker play. You need that. You have to have that. If you don't have a defense, you're just not going to... You might have a fluky year where everything goes right and you do really well, but to keep winning on a consistent basis, and let's be honest, Eagles Nation, what do we want? We want this team to be good on a consistent basis, right? They're starting to put the pieces in there. They got the quarterback. They're bringing him some weapons, but they've also started this season, this offseason so far, the Eagles have really put an emphasis on this defense, and I can't be happier about that. Because as an Eagles fan, yes, it's nice to watch touchdowns, but there's something that we love here. Maybe it's the blue-collar nature of this town. We love a great defense, and it's been a while since this team has had a great defense. They're starting to put it together. I really like the pick of Derek Barnett because he brings that, he brings that it factor that's been missing for so long, that dominant pass rusher. And I know Brandon Graham had a really good year, but now can you imagine Brandon Graham continuing to go on that upscale in his career with another dominant defensive end on the other side of him? I mean, how great is that going to look to watch Dak Prescott and Eli Manning and Kirk Cousins on their back, for how many times that these guys are going to get sacks on them. I mean, we're going to love it. And, for all the fans, the Eagle fans that were kind of about the pick, I mean, they'll be cheering. Believe me, the first time that Barnett sacks Dak Prescott, I mean, the cheers that are going to go for that. So, yeah, I mean, right now, I know that there's some Eagle fans that are disappointed. There's some Eagle fans that wanted those offensive weapons, or maybe Foster, linebacker from Alabama. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I mean, I was kind of disappointed that some of those offensive weapons were going so early. Those wide receivers. I kind of had a feeling that McCaffrey wouldn't be there, but those wide receivers, Williams, and the others, yeah, I mean, they went a little earlier than some of us thought they would, but I think that also helped to open the door for the Eagles to pick a guy who fits an absolute need on this team, and that's dominant pass rusher, getting pressure on the quarterback. You know what? If you don't give Dak Prescott, if you don't give Eli Manning, if you don't give, let's get outside of the division. Look at the NFC. If you don't give Matt Ryan, if you don't give Aaron Rodgers, and sometimes if you do, if you don't give Russell Wilson, any of these other quarterbacks in the NFC alone, I mean, we're not even talking about the AFC. We're not even talking about the GOAT there, number 12 in New England, or any of these other guys, right? Let's just stay in the NFC alone. Look at all the great quarterbacks we have. Even Drew Brees. You don't give these guys all day to survey the field and make these throws, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. You're going to be in a lot of trouble, and we've seen this here. And I know the cornerbacks get picked on all the time because, they've left a lot to be desired in recent years. We get that. But look at all the time the quarterbacks have had to make those throws. And you have to be able to stop that. You have got to be able to wreak some havoc and open things up for your defense to do that. And it's so important. And that's something that I think a lot of us forget. We're all about the cornerback's got to make the plays. Yeah, they do. But the defensive line has got to get to the quarterback, particularly on the defensive ends. That's where a lot of the havoc gets created. And that's something that I think the Eagles saw an opportunity to grab a guy who probably should have been picked already before 14 and to get him and to help strengthen this defensive line. And I can't emphasize enough how important that is. And I think for all of us who I watched a lot of those vlog videos, the Eagle fans who were there and they were disappointed. I think for all those fans who were disappointed, and yeah, the guy has to pan out. We all know that, but you have to say that about any draft pick, right? I think all of the fans who were disappointed with the pick, I think you'll see that reversed. If this guy comes in here and he, I'm not going to compare him to Reggie White. I mean, he went to Tennessee. He has the sack record there. But I don't want to compare him to Reggie White. But if he can be a quarter of the player that Reggie was, half the player that Reggie was, none of us are complaining about that pick. Okay? So you have to look at this realistically. You can't just look at it and just put your fan hat on and just say, oh, I wanted this guy, and because they didn't get this guy, it's a horrible pick, or this or that. We all do it. I get it. But you have to look at this thing realistically. You have to look at it on a football standpoint. And how do you win in football? Again, I say it again, I'll say it again. In the trenches. That's where you win. That's where games are won and lost. and you have to get pass rush. You have to make the quarterback throw the ball before he wants to. It's something you got to do, and I'm so glad the Eagles, went off this offseason. They brought in Jernigan from Baltimore. Now they get Barnett at defensive end. It's a great thing. Are they the sexy moves to make? Are they the popular things? Probably not, but these are the necessities that you have to win in this league and win in any football. This is what you got to do. It's as old as time. These are the players you have to win. They might not always get the recognition unless they have a double-digit sack season, but these are the type of players that you have to win in this league. You have to have it. And of course, in the second round, the Eagles take Sidney Jones, cornerback from Washington. Now we know his deal. He's hurt. He's probably not going to play until after week 6. So it means it's probably going to take him a few games even after that to get acclimated into the NFL. But I think that's a good pick too. Why? Because the Eagles need corner. And I know I talked about, well, you need to get the pass rush. Yeah, but you also do need to cover. And one of the problems that this team has had, even though the pass rush hasn't always been there, has been the lack of the cover with our cornerbacks. I mean, obviously, we know this. It's been a problem. We'll see about Jordan Mills. We'll see how he progresses in year 2. They moved on from some guys. And now it's about, okay, when this kid can play, I can't profess that I've watched a lot of Washington games in my time. But from what I've seen and what I've heard, the guy has a very good skill set at his position, and he's a ball hawk. And he's a playmaker as a cornerback, and that's something that we desperately want. I know he's hurt, and believe me, as a Sixers fan, I know all about knee and foot and whatever injuries that deal with legs. We've been dealing with that for a number of years now, but I like the pick. He was a first-round talent that didn't go in the first round because of that injury. It's almost like the Eagles got 2 first-round players in rounds 1 and 2. And I'm happy. I'm happy again that they went defensive side of the ball. And I know maybe, Cook, he goes a few picks before them. The Vikings move up and grab him. And I know there was some disappointment there. But you can get a running back. I mean, you can get a running back, even later in the draft. How many great running backs have been late, round picks, right? Or even, dare I say, you go after Jamal Charles. You take a flyer on him from a year. He has experience with Doug Peterson. If he can stay healthy, he's a Pro Bowl talent running back. Maybe you take a flyer on him. It's not like he has to be the end-all, be-all of this offense. So if he gets hurt, it's like, well, okay, we kind of figured that anyhow. I hate to say that. I never hope for injuries, even on opposing players, right? But or would say a player is would get injured. But you know what? If you take a flyer on him, you get him on the cheap for a year. Okay, I mean, let's see what he's got left, right? You still have a bevy of running backs at your disposal. Of course, you still got Matthews. You still got Smallwood, and of course Darren Sproles for another season before he retires. So they have kind of depth at that position. So if they do not draft a running back this year and they take a flyer on Jamal Charles, maybe just before training camp or something, I'd be okay with that. I would. Like I said, I'm excited. I'm happy that they're looking at the defensive side of the ball. And I know it's it's a side of the ball that can easily be forgotten sometimes. I mean, look, this is a scoring league, right? I mean, everyone wants to see high-scoring games. But you have to have defense. You have to be able to stop your opponent. You look at this division again, I can't emphasize this enough. You have Dallas and all the weapons they have. You have the Giants and all the weapons they have. And even though the Redskins, have been very up and down, they've always given us trouble, in recent years. So you have to be able to stop these teams. You have to be able to stop all these weapons, and the way to do that is to build a defense. It's not a given that these guys are going to come in and be, gangbusters, but the fact that they're focusing on that side of the ball in this draft, and maybe it's out of necessity because some of those players that they may have taken were gone, But you know what? It could be a blessing in disguise because you have to build a defense, and Joe Douglas knows that from his years in Baltimore. And putting it together and kind of already seeing him put his footprint on this team, I'm excited about it. I'm excited. Like I said, I'm excited about the direction this team is going in. It's still a work in progress. It's still going to take a few years to really get going. I do believe. I mean, you still have a young quarterback. I think they kind of fast-forwarded the process a little bit by getting Alshon Jeffrey and Torrey Smith in this offseason. I'm glad they did that. Looking at how the draft's gone, I'm really glad they did that. But I am happy that they are addressing the defensive side of the ball. And will it all work out? Time will tell. But I'm really excited for that because I want a great defense with the Eagles. It's exciting when they have a great defense. We all remember the Andy Reid, the years when Jim Johnson was defensive coordinator. We had B-Dog and Hugh Douglas and Trotter and all those guys, playing, and how fun that was, just to have a dominant defense. Yeah, we didn't win a Super Bowl, but those guys were just a treat to watch every game. I mean, just giving it all they had every game, making life a mess for the opposing quarterbacks, for the opposing offensive players. We all remember those big hits by Brian Dawkins. We all remember those quarterback sacks by Hugh Douglas, or maybe up the middle Corey Simon. The run stoppers that they had, the road graders up front that they had with Hollis, Thomas, and Simon. It was great. It was a fun team to watch, and they had some of the all-time greats, on the defensive side of the ball playing on those Eagles teams, and we all remember how great that was to watch them. So we have a chance to possibly have something like that, going forward, and I can't be more happier than that. And I know you got other Eagle vloggers, and yeah, they're upset. I mean, they wanted, more flash, particularly with the fact the draft was in Philadelphia and everything. And by the way, I mean, we get a horrible rap all over the place with how horrible these fans are. You see that passion, that emotion that these fans have in these 2 days so far in Philadelphia. All the major outlets have been talking about it. Philadelphia really put on a great draft, and all those fans that were there and booing the commissioner or cheering different players or what have you, I just think it they are to be commended. I mean, this is a great football town. It's always been a great football town. It will always be a great football town. The Eagles are one of the lifebloods of this city. We all just love this team, and we all want them to win. We want that ultimate goal. Some of us are dying for that ultimate goal. And I do believe that this team is on the right path for that. I really do. And I don't say that lightly. I've watched this game for many years, and I know what it takes to win. I've seen the teams that win, and I see what they have in common. And the Eagles are getting on that road. They have the quarterback. They're starting to build this defense, get some weapons around Carson Wentz, and let's go. I'm looking forward to this season, looking forward to the rest of the draft. Let's see what else they do. And, of course, the upcoming training camp, and then this preseason, and then the season begins in Washington. And maybe Derek Barnett will have his first NFL sack against Kirk Cousins and the Washington Redskins. And, by the way, Barnett is my middle name. My first favorite Eagle last name was Barnett. Of course, Arkansas Fred Barnett. So there's a good little lineage there with the Eagles and Barnetts. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for watching. That's my 2 cents on what the Eagles have done so far. I'm excited. I'm happy with what they did. I am. Pass rush, corner. 2 areas of need, and they got it. Great job so far, Eagles. Great job to Howie Roseman. Great job to Joe Douglas, the Eagles brass, and of course all the fans who have been at the draft. I'll be there tomorrow, and all those fans that were there last night, and all those fans that are there tonight. Great stuff by all of you. You have certainly represented Eagles Nation very well, and we all have a lot to be proud of for that. All right, everyone. As always, go Birds. This is Mighty Fan signing off for now, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.